September 3rd, when I left to Georgia for Hurricane Irma. When I found out that Hurricane Irma was going to come, I was like, oh my God, this hurricane is going to destroy my house and everything that's in it. So I ended up telling my father, hey, come with me to Virginia because it'll be much safer for you there. And let's bring mom along. He agreed with me at the time, but then on the day that I left, he suddenly decided not to come. And here I am driving with no real destination since I can't really go to Virginia. So my only destination at that time was Georgia. And there in Georgia, there was this botanical gardens that I wanted to go to because I love plants. So I had to take the main road to get me out of Florida, and it was a long drive. The reason why it was a long drive because everybody was trying to leave Florida. Like there was this whole thing with Rick Scott shutting down all the tolls. So all the tolls were down, meaning we didn't need to pay any money for leaving Florida. And there was a huge line, like really huge. The thing is that small car like I did, it was much more easy. Like the police officers couldn't do anything. Like people were allowed to just take the road, like completely, even take illegal parts of the road just to, it was just fantastic for me because I wasn't driving a truck, I was driving a small little car. I was literally in the shoulder of the road where you're not allowed to drive on, but the police officers didn't do anything because they couldn't, like, it was a free-for-all. People were there to leave at all ways possible. It was a complete evacuation. I remember, like, I was one of the first people to get onto the shoulder, and when the other people saw me do it, it was like I had this huge train of people right behind me and going choo-choo, like just cutting through all the traffic. Driving for quite a while. It took about 13 hours to actually reach Georgia. Once I got to Georgia, I was able to, it was just so fascinating to be in another land, different from Florida. So Georgia was way different from Florida, obviously. I remember when I rolled down the windows, it was so nice to feel the cold breeze because apparently because of the hurricane caused this pushed cold weather up into Georgia. So I felt that, and it just felt interesting seeing people with different license plates in their cars. Like here in Florida, we had the oranges on our license plates. Over there, they have peaches on their license plates. And I found that weird. And of course, if I'm driving around, people would be like wondering, why is a Floridian like doing around here? But anyway, once I got to Georgia, I went to these botanical gardens and it was really beautiful. And after going to those botanical gardens, it was just, I gotta tell you my time there. I went to some park. They had different types of parks within this botanical gardens, and each park was different. There was a Japanese park, there was an Alice in Wonderland park, and there was this small little park with a hot dog stand, and it was very lovely. And I ended up playing some music and eating a hot dog, and I was all by myself, and it was just so chilled out, and I felt so free, just like I was on my own. After hanging out there, I decided to go to this Korean sauna spa called Jeju Sauna Spa, and it was beautiful. It was amazing. Why was it amazing? Because you can spend $30 and you can sleep over there. Like, this place had everything. We're talking about, like, they had jacuzzis, pools that were icy cold. They had saunas that were hot like a jungle, and they also had a sauna that was like a desert where it's just so dry. And there were so many different people surrounding me, of different races. There was Asian people, Russian. There was New Age people like me who just didn't really care if they were naked or anything. I remember falling asleep, just grabbing a mat, putting it on the floor. Oh, they give you this orange uniform you wear there. It's like your pajamas. It wasn't like prison. It felt too relaxing to be a prison. And the food was delicious as hell. Like, I won't lie, I felt sad that I was by myself and I couldn't share this wonderful moment with anybody else, but at the same time, I felt so free because there was no restraints, nothing holding me back. After, getting my food and eating it, I decided to put the mat down on the floor and just falling asleep. So after waking up, my brother ends up telling me, hey, I know you don't know you wanted to go to Virginia, but since you can't, since your dad didn't come with me, he's like, why don't you go to Tennessee? And I'm like, Tennessee? I never went to Tennessee. And he told me that there was a friend of his there waiting, so there was shelter. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to Tennessee then. So I drove all the way to Tennessee. That didn't really take too long. Tennessee was completely different from Florida. There was mountains, forest, rednecks, bikers, people that were like hunters, moonshine. It was just way different. Like, too many people. But yeah, I felt very alien there since I was half Hispanic, and they had this slang about them that said, how could I put this? It's like, hi, yo, type of slang. And when they heard me talk, they were like,
whoa, you're not from around here. You're talking way too graceful.
And I'm like, nope, I'm from Miami, Florida. I really enjoyed discovering Tennessee because while I was there, I decided to go through mountains, and I went to so many parks there. And these parks are just so extravagant. And the main thing that they have over there that is just so amazing is their waterfalls. They have so many different types of waterfalls. And I remember going to one of them. You really have to exercise to get to that destination to see the most magnificent waterfall. I remember climbing up a mountain and then climbing down a mountain and then going into this stream. And this stream, you couldn't even go with your shoes on. You had to go with your bare feet, and I could feel the rocks stabbing me in my feet, but I was like, no, I want to see this waterfall. I want to see where this water is coming from. And when I saw the waterfall, it was like big and beautiful. I remember like there was a pond and people were on rocks. There was no land. There was only rocks to be on. And as I undressed myself and dived into the water, I just felt so alive. And I remember as I went back to get dry up, I saw a bunch of people cuddling up to something, and I'm like, well, why is everybody looking at it? And they end up telling me it's a rattlesnake. There's like a baby rattlesnake, like a mommy rattlesnake trying to curled up in some rock area. And I saw that and I was like, wow, that's pretty cute. And the people were like looking at me like, what? You think that's cute? And I'm like, yeah, it's a cute little rattlesnake. What can I say? But everybody's thinking, oh my God, that thing is deadly. But I was like, whatever. After hanging out with Tennessee for a long time, it felt very strange to me to come back home because it just felt so good to be somewhere different. But I decided to come back home because I was thinking about my family, friends, and school. But I will never forget that trip to Tennessee. That was really great. I remember the night that I decided to leave. I decided to, go outside, stare at the stars, because staring at the stars in Tennessee is a lot easier than staring at them here in Florida. But I decided, in that moment, it's time to head back home. So I got inside the car, and I actually drove all the way back home by myself. And the only stops I made were for gasoline, but it was a 13-hour drive. And some people would feel so horrible of driving that long, but I didn't. I didn't feel any stagnation of the soul. I was there with good music, and I was just dancing with my imagination as I was running back home. So once I came back home, my family was so angry at me for leaving, but I was like, I'm sorry, you can't make me feel guilty trying to survive the hurricane. My sister was telling me, oh, I will never forgive you for this, but I was telling her, so let me get this straight. You want me to feel guilty for surviving? So let me get this straight. If the Titanic was going to sink, you would want me to feel guilty for abandoning the ship. And I was like, hell no. Of course I'm going to leave the ship. I want to survive. I don't want to be part of your romantic death with your family. Long story short, I was proud of the decision that I made. It was an adventure that really fulfilled my soul in different places. So yeah, that's my story to Tennessee. I want to thank Art Domain for giving me this opportunity of telling my story. My name is Seabass, and I hope you enjoyed too. Peace.
Thank you for staying and hearing the story.